Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Urban Legends video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's do one last one here. This one based on one of your newer suggestions. And this one actually an interesting one in the sense that sure enough, just like the poster the user had mentioned in their reference, this could fall within either an Urban Legends or a Cryptids and Monsters video. And the reason why I ultimately decided to pick the Urban Legends side is because honestly, at least in my opinion, it does seem like the origin of this creature, like this creature's existence, is more along the lines of kind of not, it's kind of hard to believe that it's truly out there, only because when you hear this info, you'll understand why. Instead, what I'm more fascinating of is the fact that we have this thing, whatever it is, it's a creation, and then ultimately it's almost snowball effect into how it became not just a mascot for a local area, but if you can believe this, it's actually part of a beer. Like its image and its name is used in of itself within an actual product. So when I was reading all this info, it made me wonder how fascinating all this is when it comes to this legend of this creature. That's what interested me more than the creature itself. And it has to do with this. You're looking at it now. Definitely a weird one, and it has such a weird name too. It's known as the Oozlefinch. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the information associated with this very unique creature and its origin and legend status afterward. So what is this Oozlefinch? Well, if you to believe essentially what this creature is, it's a fabled creature that somehow some way essentially lives somewhere there in Fort Monroe, Virginia. This is a creature that has been around for quite some time, since the early 1905, at least based on its very first encounter. And this is this encounter that essentially led to its creation, and then at least with regards to its legend, and then afterward just took on that whole snowball effect. First, let's talk about where it came from, and then I'll tie that into how it looks and its characteristics. So yes, indeed, you have to go back to 1905 to be specific. You have to go there to Fort Monroe, Virginia. At that time, I don't know if it still is now, but it was home of something called the Coast Artillery Corps. I mentioned that I don't know if it is now because apparently this Fort Monroe has been decommissioned. And so now it's more on the lines of like an existing historical site rather than, let's say, an actual fort. Either way, though, at that time, at that location, there was a guy by the name of Captain H.M. Merriam. And this was a guy who maybe he worked there permanently, or maybe he just happened to be passing by. Either way, though, on that one fateful night back in 1905, there he was coming out of the officers' club when he saw this thing, this creature itself. Now, the reason why I was mentioning all this earlier, where I believe it's kind of hard to essentially believe the notion that this creature exists, is only because of this. This guy started the trend of this Oozlefinch, maybe even created its name, but at that time, he was someone that was apparently let's say under the influence of alcohol. I don't know if this was where he was like always like this, like a drunk, or if this just happened to be on this one night. But either way, though, the notion goes that when he saw this creature, it was not with like 20/20 vision. It wasn't under perfect conditions. More than the lines, it was something where he was inebriated. And so you have to take everything that he said with a grain of salt. That's why essentially I'm kind of thinking, this thing may not have been what he truly saw. Instead, he saw it within another form of vision. Either way, though, this is what he said he saw. It's a bird-like creature, almost like the size of a duck, just like you would imagine anything along those lines. Nothing bigger, nothing smaller. It seems to have feathers, it seems to have wings, but it has one very unique absolute characteristic, and it has to do with its eyes. Its eyes are something very cartoon-like in this sense. You know how you can imagine any average normal set of eyes within an animal always being within its skull. Here, though, you have these eyes that in a very cartoon-like fashion are actually sticking out from the very top of its head. So you've seen that in cartoons. You've seen how in some cases, like there's something that's happening to the cartoon character and it causes its eyes to pop out from its skull. Very same thing, but imagine a more permanent-like feature with this Oozlefinch. So yes, indeed, these eyes are sticking out from the top of its head, and it has no eyelids on top of those eyes. No eyelids or no eyebrows for that fact. But the fact that it has these stings sticking out allows it to have almost perfect, just some of the most perfect vision possible that you could imagine, at least, because these eyes, they rotate 180 degrees, so it can look backwards, frontwards, downwards, without having to turn its head or its neck. Instead, its eyes turn for it. So perfect creature in this case for having very excellent vision while it's flying around. That's another interesting thing about this Oozlefinch, the way it flies. Apparently there are some reports of this creature being able to fly backwards, or that's essentially how it flies altogether. So instead of, let's say, flying frontwards like you would expect any normal bird, here this thing uses its wings to fly backwards. Again, take all of that with a grain of salt, because here you had someone, this Captain H.M. Merriam, who was reporting all of this in a drunken state. Either way, though, he reported this creature, everything that he saw, everything that he experienced, and then he even apparently had someone make some sketches. And then from that point onward, the legend of this bird grew. I don't know exactly if it was a sense, I don't know if you've ever heard of the term groupthink or confirmation bias, but those two terms come into play here, where somewhere along that way, that was the starting point. Then everyone started to see this creature. Maybe it was almost even a popularity thing, where some of them, where people were thinking, hey, I'm being kind of left out, not seeing this creature. Let me go ahead and report that I've seen it, in quotations, so that way I can be part of a group. But the legend of this bird grew, so much so that at that officers club, there was even a statue made from these reported sightings. I don't know if you go there to that day, if you actually see this statue there, but that would be pretty cool, because then you see a statue that grew from the legend of this creature. And again, the Oozlefinch, the name itself, I have no idea where that came from. Presumably it came from that same captain whenever he created it, or it came from something else afterward. But either way, the name stuck. And ever since then, it just continued to grow as well. In fact, it was used as a patch for an organization called the Railway Artillery Reserve back during World War I. So it wasn't that interesting. It actually became part of, in this case, a world war. And then afterward, it would become other parts. Like people would use it on reefs. It would be located on the shoulder sleeves of other officers as well. There were even other like mini statues and coats of arms that were used from this creature. Another interesting point about the Oozlefinch, it seems like some people used it as a sense of a more honored tradition or symbology. Others used it in more the sense of, this is a ridiculous creature, so I'm going to use it in a ridiculous sense. Case in point, this here, this coat of arms, this motto that's located on the bottom, this Latin motto, actually translates to this: what the hell do we care? Like that's essentially its slogan towards the bottom. It gives you an idea how some people interpreted the use of this creature. But yes, ever since that point, the Oozlefinch just continued to grow within its popularity, so much so that you're looking at this. This is a beer, an actual beverage that uses its name and it uses its image within its I guess its existence. It's known as the Oozlefinch beer. And in fact, you can go there to the About Us of this website. To this day, you'll find a page that's called The Legend, and within it, they state outright that yes, indeed, they used the Oozlefinch. They drew inspiration from its legendary status, especially when it came to celebrating good times with friends, as the website said, because again, this came from an officers club. This whole origin came from that particular Fort Monroe Officers Club there, where so many people would regale their tales of encountering this creature over a cold beer. And so they drew from that status to create this beer itself. Fascinating, right? I mean, when I was reading all of this info here, it was just crazy to realize just how much of all of this snowballed. And now you have a cryptid involved with a brewery. So pretty interesting stuff. But yes, indeed, that's all the info associated with the urban legend of this Oozlefinch. To this day, apparently if you go out there to that fort, you may have a good chance of running into this creature out there in the wild. You may even see a pair of them out there too. I kind of doubt it again, considering its origin, but who knows? There may be some other stuff that proves its existence. If anybody has been there to that specific fort, maybe even there in Virginia, just passing around other areas of Virginia, let me know this legend of this Oozlefinch. If I missed any information, post those comments. If I might have missed any experiences that people have had, also please post those comments below. You know I love reading and sharing that information with everyone out there. But what do you guys think? Urban legend of the Oozlefinch, quite unique. It definitely stands out within one of the stranger situations within my YouTube videos. So, all right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.